Welcome back to another episode of Atomic Talks. Today I got my good friend Joseph back in again. Joseph competed in a bodybuilding show recently, and that's kind of the majority of what we talk about in this episode. And let me just tell you right now, the story leading up to his bodybuilding competition is pretty wild. He went through a lot of adversity and still performed really well. Super proud of the guy. If you guys enjoy the conversation, make sure to like and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Welcome back to another episode of Atomic Talks. Today I'm back here with my good friend Joseph, my favorite bodybuilder. So actually, let's get right into the bodybuilding thing, man. You just had a show recently. Real quick, first things first, how did you feel about the results of that?
So to be honest, I'd have to say didn't really go into the show expecting to win, I guess. In other words, I was more focused on just coming back, really. So I wasn't too focused on placing, to be honest. I just really wanted to make it to that stage, through everything that I had been through and coming back from such a long time off. I wanted to bring a package that I was proud of and that I felt was better than the last time I had competed. So I did place third, which out of 4 people, which if you think about second to last, but to be honest, the class itself was actually pretty competitive, and I have to say I'm pretty satisfied with that result, considering, it was just nice to come back, to be honest.
Yeah, and the ride, I guess the journey to that show was a pretty crazy one. I don't even know the whole story yet, but I remember certain aspects of it that I was just like, this guy's overcoming some major adversity here to get to this show.
Yeah, man.
And the fact that you stayed in it and did it, I think was really impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And to be honest, I'll be straight honest with you, bro. There were a few times, where a big part of me wanted to pull out. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to lie. There was some point in times during that prep when I really even questioned whether or not I was going to be able to make it there, I think, when those things hit, they just kind of really, I think but more than anything is my health aspect, I don't know if we've touched on that in the past, but, having the health issues that I have, I think, overwhelmed me mentally a little bit and honestly made me wonder if I could continue to go through that and make it to that point,
Because it was about, we just kind of checked, it was about 6 months ago that you signed up for the show. And then you said you started prep about 2 months after that. So that was 4 months worth of prep, basically?
Yeah, and if you really want to be honest, I would say it was about a full year worth of prep. Because when I had come back to the gym, I was about 128 pounds. You know what I mean? I was very light. I hadn't touched weights probably in about a year and a half to 2 years before that, So to come back and gain the weight that I did and put on the tissue that I did in that period of time before prep, I think is pretty... it's, I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's, I guess, incredible in a way to be able to put on that amount of tissue. I put on 45 pounds,
Yeah.
So I ended around 189 before I started prep, close to 190, which is the heaviest I've ever been in my bodybuilding career ever. So that alone was a huge achievement for me, right? And then to make that decision to start prep after that short period of time of gaining that weight, I think was, a little bit incredible as well, because most people don't, do that. They'll be like, I'm going to take a few years and kind of get back into things before I really push the gas pedal, and to be honest, seeing Will and Mike compete, that just fired me up, man, and I was all in after that. So yeah, it was a 4-month prep with a 8-month gaining phase.
Dang. Okay. See, I guess I didn't think about that because I didn't realize that you weren't in the gym before that.
Yeah, so prior, when we had actually started talking, dude, and reconnecting, because I had seen you when you were way back when, I think I had already been going to the gym maybe a couple months at that point. You know what I
Really?
mean? So like I had put on like a little bit of tissue. I was like around like 150, 145, you know? And like you caught me right like in the beginning of my push for my gain, right? So like you actually saw a lot of my changes, you know, through that period of time where I gained that weight, you know?
Because what was that like earlier, like at the beginning of this year kind of thing?
Yeah,
Or?
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. It was like February-ish, even before, a little bit before February. You know, I think I started up like a little bit after Christmas. You know, it was like kind of like that weird New Year, New Me thing, right? Because like I mean, like I had said, man, I was a little bit heavily depressed before, you know, dealing with my health issues, right? So like I kind of just stopped the whole weightlifting thing and sulked on myself, bro. And then one day I just snapped out of it and was like, "Whoa, what are you doing, bro? You know, like you're a bodybuilder. Like you need to do what you were set out to do, you know." And that's really what got me back in the gym. And then seeing Will compete is what really just flipped that switch, man. Like when Will and Mike did that, I was like, I've got to do this. Like this is what I'm meant to do, you know. And like that really pushed me to do it, you know. And then that 16-week prep, man. So let's start there. I want to get into that a little bit and tell you, out of all the preps I've done, that was the hardest prep I have ever done in my life, you know, and for a few reasons, you know, the adversities that I faced within the prep and just like some of the small things that being adult and having children, you know, in a family like kind of entails, you know, because I mean, I told you when I was younger and I used to compete, I was a single dude, bro. You know, I mean, not single. I had a wife as well, but I might as well stay single because she wasn't very supportive or involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything was on me. And to be realistic, those preps in themselves were easy because number one, I was able to focus on myself. I didn't have any outside influx of family members that rely on me, right? My wife here, she relies on me. My kids rely on me. You know what I mean? I'm dealing with an ex-wife where I get my kids 50-50 on and off. So they're back and forth, you know? So there's a lot of home life things that made it hard in itself, you know? That was probably one of the first things that I noticed that was going to be kind of a little bit of adversity to get through it. Because I was like, wow, this is different. You know, kids have practices. Kids have games, bro. You know, like my daughters were in cheer. My other daughter was in volleyball. You know, we had practices Tuesdays, Thursdays, Wednesdays, games on Saturdays, cheer on Sundays, you know, and that made it really hard, you know, because normally when I did it in the past, I would just go to work, take my little lunch bag to work, have my meals, come home, eat my meals, go to bed, go to the gym, and that was it, right? Now it's like, I got to find time to go to the gym. I got to find time to prep my food. I got to make sure I have these meals on me and that my food is prepped, as well as make sure my kids have what they need. They make it to school on time. I go to school events. I go to games, you know, making sure my wife is mentally and emotionally taken care of. And I'm also helping be her partner. On top of the fact that the second thing, adverse wise, my health. Like I haven't been to work in about a year for my epilepsy, dude. So we're on one income. That was another huge thing. Shows aren't cheap. Food's not cheap. You know? So that's why I'm saying when I told you there are a few points in this prep where I was like, am I going to make it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, like that was probably the first two things that I realized that was going to be a challenge. You know? Those things in themselves kind of threw me for a loop right off the rip.
And like speak on the epilepsy thing a little bit because that was kind of something we didn't know about until this year, right?
Yeah, dude. So I've been having seizures for like the past 3 years, right? I was never diagnosed with anything. First couple years, I just kind of was like, oh, it must be stress. You know, I related it to stress and just kind of pushed it in the back burner, right? Well, this year, no joke, this year, I finally had my EEG and MRI, and granted, there's nothing wrong with my brain, but I was diagnosed with epilepsy. I didn't know this, but epilepsy just, what it necessarily means, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have something wrong with your brain. It just means that you're prone to seizures and they don't stop. Okay? So like, and what that means is it can mean there are issues with your brain, Or in my case, what we're finding is it's neurological overload, right? So when I get super stressed out, super overwhelmed, super angry, when I let these emotions like override my mental state, it literally, my brain just shuts off. And like, that's kind of what we're leaning towards in terms of what's wrong with me, because I do notice the less stressed I am and the less things I have on my plate and the more calm of a person I am, I don't have them, you know? Like, it's really, really wild to have to deal with this type of thing and not really. And the thing is, like, epilepsy is like one of those things, I guess it can come on later in life, you know? I thought it was always something that was like, you're born with it, but I guess it can be like something that comes out later in life, right? So like, that's something I'm trying to still learn to this day to deal with. Like, for example, like, I can't drive, you know? That was another thing that made prep hard. I had to rely on other people's time to get to the gym, right? To do my training, to do my cardio. And hopefully I can get a ride from home from the gym. There were times where I walked home from the gym. I mean, you picked me up one time, you know, like, I made it happen. But those are things that I'm talking about that really impacted the prep itself. Right?
Yeah, man.
You know,
like, I remember,
yeah,
there'd be sometimes you'd be walking home at night, like at 11:30.
Yeah, dude.
Hour and a half walk. Like,
yeah, literally, bro. You know, and I've done that quite a few times, you know, but that was just my drive to get the shit done. You know, that was that no quit attitude. Like, we're going to make this happen no matter what we need to do to make it happen. You know, so the epilepsy was actually kind of a big hit, because at first, I mean, you had known I was driving to the gym for a while there, you know?
Yeah.
And then what had actually really happened is I was driving and I had a seizure while driving and I got in a wreck and they took my license away, you know? So like, that was another thing that happened right in the middle of prep, where it was like, okay, now I have to start relying on other people and other people's time to figure out how to get these things done, you know? On top of the fact that when I had a seizure, bro, it was a pretty hard setback. You know, I'd come back to the gym after like 4 days of not being there.
Right, yeah.
And I'd be like, oh yeah, I had a seizure on Sunday, or I had 2 seizures on that night, and it just like wiped me out, bro, you know? And you know as well as I do, we don't fuck around when we train, excuse my language, but we don't. And we train hard and we train intense, right? So in order to uphold that intensity, having those seizures, bro, I need my body to recover. Like, there's no way I could have a seizure and then go train.
Right.
You know, like, I'm literally wiped for probably, like, literally, I would say probably about 2 days. 2 days it takes me to feel 100% normal. You know, like, the first day after a seizure, my body's super sore. It's just super sore and it's exhausted, you know, and it's from locking up and flexing everything. And me as a muscular dude, you know, I'm pretty sure my muscles flex and torque. So then when I come out of it, I literally feel like I hit by a train, you know? And then the rest of that day is just done. Like, it's just like, there's no mental fortitude to process anything. Like, you're just done. You know, then you wake up the next day, you're super sore. You know, you still feel like you've been hit like a train, and you still feel this like lingering effect of like fatigue, where you're just like extremely fatigued and you cannot like move. Your body feels heavy. I'm sure you felt like that, right? You know what I mean? You know, like, you wake up, like, for example, like, if you haven't slept really well and like you're going through the day and like your arm just feels like super heavy when you lift it up, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just feel like that all day, right? And then by like day 3, I start to feel a little bit more normal, you know, and I usually take those 2 days off and I'll get back in the gym. So it's like a 3-day venture, bro. And like, when you're on prep, that's a setback, you know, like, I can't do my cardio, you know, and even my appetite. Like, my appetite goes to shit after that. So like, for the next few days, I don't have the appetite that I normally do. And the number one thing about prep is your meals, right? Like, your meals are very important, especially when you're in a deficit. You're already not eating enough. So to not eat for 3 days, you know, like, that's just not conducive to anything, right? So that was another big adversity, man. Granted, now I've seemed to get a little bit more control of it. You know, it seems like I have a little bit more grasp on what triggers things. And honestly, I have to say, like, the morning walks, I usually go on morning walks with my dog. You know, I try to stay in nature. You know, get a little bit closer with God is another thing that I've been doing lately. And all of these positive things that I'm doing and changing my mindset have really seemed to help me manage this, you know? Like, I can say I probably haven't had a seizure in a good 2 to 3 months, you know?
Was the last one you had the one while driving?
I had like one more after that.
Okay.
You know, but I mean, dude, they were like weekly. You know, like I was having them weekly, and I have a thing that's called what are called cluster seizures. So like when I go into one, sometimes I'll have like 1, 2, 3 in a row. Like I'll go in and out. You know, and I haven't been experiencing that, and I really believe it's due to the way that I am dealing with things mentally, like the overwhelming situations, the other situations that cause those things to make me feel overwhelmed. Like, I'll be honest, bro, I haven't even taken the medication they've been prescribing me, you know, because I feel like there's too many side effects associated with it, and I don't want something altering my brain. You know, I feel like if I can do this naturally and I can do this through finding myself and learning how to control myself, then I don't think I need that shit. You know, because that's something I don't want to do. I don't want to start messing with my brain and taking medication that I have to take for the rest of my life. You know, like I think there are ways around this. I think there are things that I can do to, I mean, for example, I'll just put it this way. I didn't have them before. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure we can get back there.
Okay. Yeah. The seizures were definitely one of the major adversities there, I would say. Yeah. Because there was this like one specific time period that I can remember throughout your last prep here, where I want to say it might have been back in like September-ish, where I just hadn't seen you at the gym for like a solid like 2.5 weeks or something like that, and I'm sure you were going, but it was probably like later on in the day, and I was kind of getting worried about you. Like I sent you a text like asking you how you're doing and stuff, and then you. Sure enough, next time I see you in person, it was like you had a seizure while driving. Dude, it was like a culmination of like multiple different things that had happened.
Yeah, dude. So the seizure was that. Then I also had 2 surgeries on my mouth.
Right.
You know, and that's actually when the seizure happened. So the seizure happened the day after I got my surgery.
No way.
And the reason why was because the doctor, who didn't tell me, I guess when you go under antihistamines or you get put under, because I literally got put under for that one, like completely out. When you go under that medication, I guess it can trigger seizures, right?
Really?
I didn't know that, dude. Like, I was totally blind to it, bro. And like, I had literally just gotten, so what I had is, I had 2 molars that had root canals when I was like 14 years old. And I ended up going to the dentist to get a cleaning, and the lady there was like, you got some pretty nasty root canals, you know, your teeth are like, we need to get those out. She said, they're breaking, they're no good, the caps on them are falling off, like, we need to get them out. And I was like, all right, well, you know, let's do it. Let's get this shit done, because like I said, I was already prepping by that point. So I was like, I need to get this done so that way I can get back to eating, because I'm like, if you're going to pull teeth out of my head, I'm not going to be able to chew anything for a while, right? So like I that was another adversity. It was like literally like I couldn't eat solid food for like 4 or 5 days, like a full week. And a full week of prep is quite a bit, right? On top of the fact that I couldn't train. She's like, you can't train because you're going to get dry sockets. So that was that whole 2 weeks that you didn't see me at the gym, right? So I had the surgery. When she was doing it at the dentist, the regular dentist, I was there for like 3.5 hours, and then she was like, oh, I can't get these out. They're too deep. And I was like, what? You know? She was like, yeah, they're too deep. You're going to have to contact an orthodontist specialist, and he's going to have to go in there and remove them. And I'm like, WTF? Like, what the hell, man? Like,
yeah.
Are you serious? Like, so I have to go heal and they get cut open again?
I'm sure that increased the stress because you're like, I got a fucking bodybuilding shit.
I got a show. I got a show. Like, I can't eat now, and then you're telling me I have to get cut open again? Like, how am I going to do this? And I can't train? You're telling me I can't train for 4 days? And when I go back, I have to start training at 50%? You know what that's like, bro. It's like, what? Like, imagine if somebody told you that and you're in the middle of a block for a meet, you know? and you're like 10 weeks out from your meet, and they're like, hey, bro, this is going to take 2.5 weeks off of your fucking time.
Right.
You know, like that would be a huge stressor for you. You'd be like, my numbers are going to be down, bro. Like, I'm not going to be able to hit my sessions and compound on top. Like, there's no way. It's the same thing with bodybuilding. I'm not going to be able to get my meals. I'm not going to be able to do my cardio, cut my fat. You know, like those things start mentally plaguing you. And that was one of the points, bro, when I was like, I don't even know if I should do this.
Right.
I was like, because if I'm going to have to get my mouth cut open again and I can't eat again, I was like, how am I going to do this?
Well, and then one thing I don't want to gloss over too is that I want to say it might have been kind of soon before that time where we were filming a video where we were going to be doing like a bodybuilder does a powerlifting style workout kind of thing.
Yes,
and
dude.
And then we were I think you had like 455 on a deadlift, and then you kind of like you pulled out your lat. Like
I tore that bitch. Yeah, I tore the lat. Yeah, so we were doing that filming, and that day, dude, I tore the lat, and it was literally probably about maybe 3 weeks after that. Like, I had just gotten back to, like I had healed it up. Remember, we were talking about that. I was going through range of motion. I was like, bro, everything's good. I said, I think I'll be able to train 100% here in, like, a week, you know? And then they were like, oh, we got to cut your mouth open, you know? And, I mean, I guess in retrospect, if you really think about it, like, I mean, I guess it helped that lat heal a little bit more in retrospect. Now that we're talking and I kind of think about it, like, yeah, maybe it let me lay off that lat a little bit. And it kind of healed up a little bit more, right? I guess that's one positive thing that I can look at from it, because maybe if I didn't, maybe if I would have kept going, maybe it wouldn't have healed as well, or something else could have happened, or who knows, you know, I don't know. But I mean, I just try to look at the positive in things, right? Like, so maybe it let that lat heal. But yeah, I did that. It took about 3 weeks to come back to be able to train at 100%. And then that's when they were like, okay, we're going to cut your mouth open. Got my mouth cut open. Lady was like, can't get them out. You're going to have to go to another dentist. I had to call, make that appointment. And I got super lucky, dude, because it was like that next Wednesday they were able to go in there and take everything out, right? But again, I went in there and he was like, yeah, I'm going to have to cut you open, and then you're going to be like this, and you can't train. This one was kind of nice because it wasn't like a dry socket the way the lady left it. He said I only had to take like 2 days off of training and then I could come back, which was pretty cool, right? So like I did that. I came back to training pretty quick after that. But again, I still wasn't able to eat correctly, right? Because like my mouth, and that specific surgery, because he had to go in, remove the root canals, and then he put bone grafts in on the bottom of my jaw. So like my jaw got like really swollen, and it like really hurt to move, and I couldn't eat. You know what I mean? So that those two things were like right then and there. I was kind of like, I don't know if I can do this, you know. To be honest, it was my wife. She was like, Joseph, you can do this. She's like, I know you don't think you can. She's like, but you can do it. She's like, I know you can. You know, she's like, I've seen you go through a lot of things and come out on the other side. And she's like, I know if you just buckle down, you can do this, you know? And I was like, all right, you know, I believe you. You know, like, she's honestly, that woman is my rock, bro. Because all through this time when I wanted to quit, she was the voice who was like, you could do this. You got to do this shit, right? Because the seizure while driving, finding out about the epilepsy, you know,
the lat pull,
getting my mouth cut open twice, you know, those things, all on top of the fucking fact that right in the center of prep, not only did that happen, I lost a very good friend of mine.
Right.
You know, and that was another thing that really hit me like really hard and emotionally, because he had just come back from a really bad situation himself. You know, he was trying to get back into going to the gym and getting himself right, you know, and
like I saw him in the gym with you a couple times.
Yeah, I brought him with me because I really wanted to keep him straight, keep him out of trouble. You know, he was a good kid. He really was. You know, he was an amazing person. You know, he just had his issues, man. And I wish I could have been there more for him, but like he had a problem with the substance abuse issue that ended up in an overdose, you know, and like that was a huge surprise, you know, because like I had literally just seen him like a week ago and he had been getting over his whole thing that he had been dealing with the past 2 years. And his sister called me and was like, you know, we found him and he was OD'd, and I was like, are you kidding me? You know, like, it didn't even feel real. Like, it really didn't, you know? And I ended up going to his funeral, and like, I was like pretty damn devastated, bro. It was pretty wild because I don't usually react to things like that. I mean, I do, but not that heavily, right? Like, not that heavily emotionally, where like I didn't want to do anything. It was weird. I've never experienced that. Like, I almost like fell back into a depression for a minute, you know, because like I was so hurt about the whole thing, right? And like, that was literally another point in time when I was like, I told my wife, I was like, babe, I don't know if I can do this. I was like, I just don't know. I said, there's so much going on, you know. And she actually looked at me and she was like, what do you think Anthony would tell you? You know? And I looked at her and I was kind of like, tell me to put my fucking head on my ass and do the show. You know? And she was like, well, then that's what you need to do. You know? And I was like, you're right. You know? And like, that in itself was pretty intense, because at that point, I kind of made a promise to him and told him, I'm going to make it there, dude. Like, I'm going to get this shit done. You know, and that was huge for me, because I swear to you, bro, like a week out, I almost wanted to fucking like not do it. And I don't know what it was, because at that point in time, there wasn't really any adversity. Like, I had already made it, you know? Like, I had my posing trunks, I had all my stuff, you know? I had the hotel set. Like, I had everything ready to go, dude. And like, there was just something inside of me. And I don't know if all bodybuilders go through this. I don't know if it's just a me thing. But for some reason, bro, like, I almost got scared. And was like, I don't know if this package that I'm bringing is good enough to step up on stage. You know? And like, it really like worried me. And it probably happened about 2 weeks before, because I remember talking to my wife about it again. And I was just like, I don't want to step up there and look bad. I want to be competitive. I don't want to get blown out of the water. You know, like, I just had like all these things like rushing in my head, bro. Like, as it started to approach, you know? And I think what happens is, I think being on that low of a deficit, that depleted, being competitive and hard on yourself in nature, because, you know, I honestly believe like I'm not the only one who experienced this, and I know this for a fact, because, you know, Jacob from our gym, who competed right at the Natty show the next day,
Right.
literally went through the same thing that I did. You know, he had a pretty rough time where he almost didn't want to do it, because he said he just felt so overwhelmed, and he wasn't sure if he was ready, and he wasn't sure if he looked good enough, you know, and all these things, I think they just compile on you, and you literally almost have kind of a mental breakdown to where you're like, is this good enough? Right? And I think what's hard, because us as bodybuilders, right? Like when you talked about in one of your shorts, when you're like, you know, I need to not compare myself to the guys on the internet because my lifts aren't anywhere near those dudes, but those dudes are like literally elite freaking athletes, bro, like top 1%. And we do that, right? Like, I'm like, I don't look like Phil Heath. I don't look like Samson Dowda. I don't look like Sean Clarita or Chris Bumstead, right? Yeah, obviously, those are the top 1%, but those are the kind of things that we imagine when we go to these competitions sometimes. Like, people like that are going to be there. Even though we know in our head, like, no, you know, like that's probably like, you know, like those guys are pros, right? But you feel like that. And I start looking at these things and I'm like, my hamstrings aren't fucking in enough. I'm still carrying a little bit of fat under my butt. Like, I'm not going to be able to take this off in enough time. I'm not going to be hard enough. I'm not going to be lean enough. You know what I mean? Like, all these things start to hit you, dude. And like, I literally was like, I don't know if I want to get on stage. I was telling her, I was like, I don't like, you know, a lot of people tell you too. I think another thing that happens is everyone's telling you you look amazing, right? Like your buddies are like, damn, you're ripped. You look good. You're fucking on it, bro. Like, you look great. You know, your wife, you look awesome, babe. Like, I've never seen you like this. You know, your family, wow, I can't believe. But the thing is, these people aren't bodybuilders. Of course I look amazing to them. That's my thought process. Like, you don't know bodybuilding. You know what I mean? Of course you think I look absolutely insane. You know?
You like have like a whole different perspective.
There's a whole different perspective and standard that I'm thinking about. You think you're ripped, bro. You look great. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like, I'm not ripped enough. I'm not hard enough. I'm not full enough. You know, like, all these things start to plague your mind, bro. And like, it really does. Like, it stresses you out. And then you start to think, oh, I don't know. And again, there was my wife in my ear, like, Joseph, like, just get up there, just do your thing, you know, like it's been 10 years, you know, like, you need to just do it and like have fun. She's like, stop worrying so much and just have fun. And I forgot about that. I did. I got so wrapped up in wanting to look a certain way and wanting to be competitive and wanting to make sure that I brought a package that was worthy of being up there and that people were going to be like, oh yeah, you do look good. You did bring it, you know? And she was like, just go have fun. Whatever happens, happens. She's like, you're already here, you know? Like, it's a week out. What's going to change? You know? And I did. Like, I was like, you're right. I need to just go up there and have fun. And like, when I did that, bro, that was it, bro. And I have to say, honestly, getting up there, like, and I told you this before last time, there's nothing like it. Like, once you're there, and like, it is the most exhilarating, biggest dopamine rush that I think I've ever experienced in my life.
Really?
You know? And that's to say that I've competed in powerlifting. And let me tell you, bro, hitting a PR is pretty, like, at a meet is pretty dopamine heavy. Like, it's a pretty big rush. Especially when everyone's like, yeah, you're like, yeah, you know? But something about, bro, being on that stage and just like knowing all the fucking suffering that you went through to be up there is like, oh my God, I'm here. Like, fucking A. Like, we made it. We did it. You know? Because like, you get some pretty damn crazy thoughts about 3 weeks out. I have to say, and I don't know if anybody speaks about that. I know all of us bodybuilders kind of mention it. Like, oh, when you get 3 weeks out, you get this brain fog. You're tired. You're hungry. But I don't think anybody talks about the mental thoughts behind closed doors. Because like, when you're alone, Will went through it. He said the same thing. He's like, I wasn't sure if I was like, you literally get in your own head, dude. And it's kind of like a self-induced psychosis where you're like freaking yourself out, you know? And it's crazy because like, when I go back and look at the videos, I'm like, damn, you look good. What were you thinking?
Yeah, you did.
You know what I mean? Like, it's really wild though. Because you'll literally sit there and look at yourself in the mirror and not think you're good enough. It's crazy. Like, like being normal now and looking back on it and talking with you about it, it's like, it gives me goosebumps now thinking about it because it's crazy to me that I like was like that. Because I look back at the videos and I'm like, bro, you look fucking good. Like, you held your own. Like, you came back and you brought something that you've never brought before.
Like, I'm sure that it's a combination of many different things that play into that feeling. But would you say that the calorie deficit is a part of it?
I honestly believe yes. I do. I think the calorie deficit in itself actually has a lot harder a mental degradation and like thought process and the way you feel about yourself than more people think it does. You know, I mean, maybe for some of it doesn't. You know, maybe some people can write it through and it doesn't bother them in that way. But I think there's a lot more people that especially if you have like a family and kids and like all these other stresses, you know, I think that calorie deficit can weigh on your mental aspect very heavily.
Okay.
You know, because think about it, like, that's another thing I want to talk about too, is just the diet in itself. Like, you're eating the same thing. I mean, I say that like I don't eat the same thing in off season too. But what I mean by that is you're eating the exact same thing every day, day in, day out. There's no change. It's not like, oh, I'm in my gaining phase, I can go ahead and switch out a meal for some McDonald's today. You know, there's none of that shit. It's chicken, rice, turkey, rice, beef, rice, turkey, sweet potato, eggs, oatmeal, cream of wheat. You know, like that's it. Like that is it. You know what I mean? And you're over here trying to splice up these meals with like certain sweeteners and sauces and shit to make them more palatable because you're literally eating that same shit for a 16 to 20 week period. And as I was saying before, when I did it before, I didn't have kids, right? So I didn't have temptations in the house, in other words, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
There weren't Rice Krispie treats and cakes and ice creams and candy bars and chips and pretzels. There weren't those things in my house when I was prepping because it was just me. So I didn't have any temptation. It was like, oh, well, I can't go to the fridge and look at the fucking, you know, German chocolate cake that's sitting in the fridge and my mouth starts watering because all that's in there is chicken and rice.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
So, like, there's no temptation.
I'm sure you have to make the kids, you know, their meals and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You're
dude.
probably starving.
Or like when mama's cooking food, bro, and she's making enchiladas for them three, and I'm sitting there eating chicken and rice again for the 4th time today. You know what I mean? And you smell that shit, bro.
Oh,
and like
dude.
that in itself, I think, is mentally frustrating. Because like I started craving things that I don't even like. Don't like Twinkies. Wanted fucking Twinkies. Like smelt the Twinkie and was like, oh, that smells good. Was watching my wife eat it, and it was about fucking me having an orgasm watching her eat the fucking Twinkie. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, that Twinkie looks so good. You know, like seriously, bro. And it's wild. Like that is wild, especially like being in here and like you walk by and you're like, damn, those chips look good. Damn, that ice cream looks good. You know, and it's wild, bro, because it really plays on you. You know, like you could walk in here and you could fuck it all up because it's on you. No one else is telling you. Like I can eat whatever I want, really. And that's what makes it hard.
Right.
And what's weird is like, even when I'm on my bulking diet, like now, I'm on a maintenance phase going into a gaining phase. And I felt like when I finished the show, I bought like all these treats and snacks and shit, right, dude? Like I bought a 4-pack of chocolate muffins from like Albertsons, and like I was telling my wife, I'm probably gonna eat all 4 of those, bro. There's still 2 of them motherfuckers sitting on the counter right over there.
Really? Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like, and I don't know, maybe I'm different, but like I don't need a lot to like be, I guess, satisfied, in other words. Like I had a few burgers, an ice cream, a few chocolate muffins, and breakfast at IHOP, and I was through. I was like, no more fucking junk food, bro. Like I don't want it. It's making me feel not good. My stomach's upset. Digestion was really bad for those few days. And I literally hopped back on my diet. But the difference is, even though I'm eating those 4 same things, I can have cookies. I can grab 4 Oreos and have a little glass of milk.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I think something does to your sanity with that. You know? Or like being able to go out with the family, bro. Like that was horrible. Like when we would go eat somewhere and I have to take my Tupperware, you know? And like people are buying food and you're sitting there with a Tupperware, like it sucks, you know, it really does. And I know some people act like, oh, I'm a machine, it don't bother me. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not, dude. I enjoy food. I really do, you know. I don't eat a lot of junk food and I don't eat a lot of shit, but I do enjoy my fair share of treats, you know. And when you can't have them, it does something to you. You know, it's weird. And I'm sure you've experienced that with certain things too. It's like when someone tells you not to push the damn button and you push it.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's weird. Like, because I can't have it, there's this weird want for it.
It's the same thing whenever you're the one telling yourself you can't push the button. It's like you still have that want to push
like
it.
You want to push it. You're like, I want to push that thing. You know, it's the same way, bro. Like, I'm dieting and I'm making myself diet. And I'm like, I want that fucking food. But when I'm on my off-season diet, it really doesn't bother me that much. Like, I don't eat it that much. Like, I'll have ice cream here, or I'll have a chocolate muffin here, or I'll have a candy here and there. But just the fact that I can have it, I think it does something to you mentally where it doesn't, like, make you crave it as much, I guess. I don't know. It was the weirdest thing. That's the first time I've ever experienced that, too. Which made it hard.
Do you think like the difficulty of preparing for a bodybuilding competition is part of what makes it like so appealing to people?
I do.
Because like whenever I was at the show, I was thinking to myself like, this is like an interesting sport. You know, like it's like like from my outside perspective, there was sometimes that I'd be wondering watching these guys of what's like the appeal here kind of thing.
No,
you know
no, really. It's like why you put yourself for that much suffering for such a short period of time on stage?
And then but once I hear your journey of it and I hear your story of preparing for the competition, then all of a sudden like I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty cool. Like this is like
yeah. See, and I think that's why I really wanted to do this podcast to let people know, you know, like there is a different aspect to prep, and that's why we do it. That's why that 5 minutes of stage time is so fucking important to us. Because when you go through that much suffering, bro, you know, and you go up there to show off the work that you did, you know, and like you hear those people cheering for you, like there is nothing like that, bro. I swear. And it's weird. I also think it's something to do with the fact that you can't see the people.
Right. That's one thing I didn't know about until I was there is the light is blasting on your eyes.
You can't see anything.
Like, and then like they would only put the light on the crowd every once in a while. I noticed what.
And I think that's just to kind of like, you know, like for effect wise and stuff. And I think because they're live streaming it, you know, to show like the venue and whatnot. But to be real, bro, when you're on that stage, all you can see is the judging panel. You cannot see past the judging panel. You just see bright lights, and then you hear people cheering, or then you hear your name, you know, and you're like, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you know, and then I think the stress of it all too has a big thing to do with, like you were saying, just the prep, like the posing and you know, you come home tired, beat to shit after cardio and training, bro, and then you still got to pose, right? So you're sitting there posing, you're looking at yourself, dude, you know, and then like all these people, like if they are supporting, like my wife, bro, she was the one who was calling out all my poses, you know, and just to have like that support and go through that journey, bro, and feel that tiredness and then still push through all of that shit, you know, going through the ups and downs. And I want to make it very clear that, you know, yes, I had a lot of adversity, but so do a lot of other people. And that's what I want to make clear is that, yes, I dealt with a lot of things, but it's life. And us people who choose to do this bodybuilding thing, I think sometimes as bodybuilders, we look even at professionals or other bodybuilders who are prepping and think, oh, they have it so easy. When we really don't know what's going on behind closed doors while they're doing that prep. You know, like we don't know what's going on with their home life, their mental status, what they're dealing with at work, health issues. Like we don't know any of that. We just see them prepping and think like the guy who won the show, for example, like I've been following him on Instagram and watching him prep, bro. And it seems like his prep is perfect, right? And of course that's a social media aspect, but that's what we see. That's what we're conditioned to see nowadays.
Yeah.
You log on, you see these guys prepping. They don't talk about the hard shit. You just see them preparing their meals. All they talk about is, oh, I'm tired, I'm hungry. They don't talk about the mental struggles. They don't talk about wanting to pull out. They don't talk about sitting there wondering if you're good enough. They don't talk about losing somebody in the family or a friend or dealing with legal troubles. Like, you don't hear any of that. You know, and I want people to understand that, like, I guess we're people too, you know? Like, even though we choose this competition, I think because some people, like you said, I think a lot of people look at this and they see, and I'm not going to say it's not a vain sport, because obviously it's about looking your best, right? It is a vain sport, bro. But I think a lot of people consider us to be self-conceited and narcissistic type of people. Like, oh, you just work out and eat so you can get on stage and show your body off, right? Like, that's pretty egotistical of you, you know? But for some of us, dude, it's like a therapy. For some of us, it's a challenge. You know, and just to get up there for that 5 minutes and show what we worked for, like, yeah, maybe it is a little bit vain, but it makes us feel extremely accomplished and it makes us feel really good. And I also think that that discipline of being able to do that bleeds into other things in the life. Like, if you can go through a bodybuilding prep and make it on stage, dude, you could probably lock in and do a lot of things.
I can imagine also it gives you something to fight for.
Yeah.
Like, because the life sucks sometimes, and life's gonna suck sometimes, no matter what you do. So if you have something like a bodybuilding show coming up, and then it makes like that suckiness of life to be like maybe it gives you just an extra reason to push through it. You know what I mean?
It does, and in a way, it's a positive distraction, right? Because like if you are dealing, which I did it a few times. Like I really threw myself into prep, right? Like because there were certain things like in my life that like I felt like for example, like I don't know, arguing with my ex-wife about something, right? Like when things like that got like really like overwhelming, like I just turned to prep, right? Like I'm gonna lock in, make sure your diet's on point, get to the gym, train. Like you start really like locking into those things, and it really does give you a outlet in a way, right? Because like when you are prepping for a show, everything's so revolved around it that you almost are able to throw yourself into it and take yourself out of other things that are overwhelming you. Which I think can be both a good and a bad thing, right? You know, I think, to be honest, like if you know how to manage that correctly, like it can be a good thing. But like I said, I found points and times when I was so deep into it that it was a bad thing, right? Like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I need to do more, right? Like, and that's another thing I think with prepping, like especially when you start to get to the end, like you feel like you need to do more and more and more. And that's not always the case. You know, it's not always the case that you need to cut your food again or add more cardio or train harder, you know? Sometimes it's just about pulling back on the gas pedal and just cruising, you know? Like the whole, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right, yeah.
Like, cause like there is a point where you hit that, bro. And like, for example, when I was, getting about 3 weeks out, Anthony, he took a look at me, right? And I'm taking a look at me because I wanted somebody else who was more bodybuilder oriented to kind of give me a rundown on where I was at. And like, again, like I was kind of struggling with whether I should do it or not. So his opinion really helped push me forward because he was like, yeah, you're ready, bro. Like you look good. And I know he's a bodybuilder, so I know he kind of knows what he's talking about, right?
Like I might have been at the gym.
Yeah, that was that day when me and Jacob were posing.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely, yeah. And that's when he was like, yeah. And he was like, because I was like, I'm going to cut my food again. I'm going to do this. And he was just like, no, don't. Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, and that's another part of prep that I think gets a little bit daunting. And again, you know, you have to remember, I prep myself. You know, I did everything myself. My training, my nutrition, my peak week. You know, most people have coaches, you know, or at least have someone in there helping them do it. Like, you know, like Will had Anthony's guidance and Mike's guidance a little bit. Mike and Dana were both coached by Anthony and his wife. You know what I mean? So they also didn't have the stress of having to do all that shit yourself. And that's why people hire coaches during prep, because doing the macros and doing the calories is stressful. Adjusting things on your own when you need to adjust them is stressful. You know, like it really is. Like I couldn't imagine if I had somebody that I could just call up and have them take a look at me and like, okay, we're going to cut your food. And now I had to do all that shit. I had to pose. I had to look at myself. I had to be like, okay, yeah, you know what, maybe I better cut food again. You know, or is this too much? Or like, cause there was a few points where I cut food too hard and I had to refeed. You know, like I was dropping weight like crazy, bro. I think I was like 163 and I was like 8 weeks out or 7 weeks out. And I was like, whoa, this is way too light. I was like, I can't, like, I'm not supposed to be here yet, you know? And it was because I was pushing too hard, you know? And like that happens when you do shit on yourself, you know? So like a coach and an extra pair of eyes, I think is honestly a very good thing.
That makes sense. One thing I did want to ask about was, do you think that signing up for the bodybuilding competition early on like that, do you think that helps you decide, like, because you said you had moments of doubt, you had moments of like, should I do this or should I not? Do you think signing up for it ahead of time helped with that?
Absolutely. Okay, and this is just me, a personal thing, because I remember telling Anthony that when we were having our last podcast with all the guys, remember?
Yeah.
He walked in and I told him, hey bro, I signed up for that show. And he was like, you signed up already? And I remember telling him, yeah. I said, because once I'm committed to it, I'm committed. And he was like, oh, well, then you don't want it bad enough, because he's like, I'll prep all the way up until the day of the show and then sign up. you know, depending on how you look, which I've done that too. But I feel like if I commit to something 100% and I've already paid for it and I've already got myself like, I'm going to do this, then I know for a fact that when I hit those moments of doubt, I'm not going to pull out, because I think that can happen, you know? Again, that's all individualized, but like, honestly, if I was at a point and I hadn't paid for that show yet, I might have been like, I haven't even signed up, so fuck it.
I feel like that applies to a lot of things, like,
you know,
for a lot of people too. Because like, have you ever heard like the sunk cost fallacy?
Mm-mm.
So it's like this, like, usually it's contextualized in a negative way, where you put so much time, effort, money into something, and even if that something's not returning to you any type of value, then you still might continue to put energy, money, whatever it is, into that something.
Right.
But I feel like that can also apply for the benefit of people in certain ways.
Absolutely.
Like, I feel like that's part of why personal training helps. Like,
that's
it's like
exactly what it is, bro. You know how many clients I've personal trained who said, I need to pay you so I show up?
Right, exactly. Yeah, and like, in a situation like that, then all of a sudden it's a beneficial
like, that's their
thing.
motivation. And if that's what it takes for them to have that motivation, then great. Do it. Do what makes you have that motivation. If you know that you have to pay for something, and again, that's an individualized thing. Some people, like us, we can go to the gym without personal trainers. Fucking love training. We'll make the time for it any time of day. You know, you can catch me at the gym on a Tuesday at 11:30 at night training. Coming home and going to bed at 3 in the morning, getting up at 6 or something. Because I love to train. I love to bodybuild. You know, there are other people who aren't like that, right? They need that, I pay for my gym membership, but I still don't use it, so I need to hire a personal trainer, because if I'm paying for it and they're holding me accountable, then I'll show up.
Right, yeah.
Like, if I have to tell myself to do it, I might not do it, because I'll feed myself excuses. Well, you're tired. You know, it was a long day at work. You didn't eat that well. You didn't sleep that well. You got too many things to do. You know, especially with adult life. And I see that, because that's one of the adversities that I had with prep. Like, there were very many times where I could have been like, oh, well, my kids have too many things to do. I'm just going to screw off on the diet. So take the extra time to fill my little Yeti cooler and eat cold ass meals. Like, you know how many meals I ate with like shit people don't want to eat, dude. Let me put it that way. Because like, when you cook turkey and you put turkey in the fridge, its fat gelatinizes, and it's like a gelatinous fat on the turkey. And when you have to eat that shit cold, it's kind of gross.
Right, yeah.
You know,
it's
when
like
you're shoveling. Yeah, bro. Like, it literally, like, you know, when you pour the dog food out and it has like the gelatinous shit in there,
right.
That's what the turkey looks like in your rice, and you're sitting there eating that, and it's cold as shit. You know, that right there in itself is enough for most people to be like, fuck that. I ain't gonna do that. You know, but for me, again, I just know I'm that kind of person, and there could have been a huge chance that one of those adversities popped up, especially the one where I was out for 2 weeks. That right there in itself might have been like, 2 weeks is long enough for me to be like, I can't bring it back. I'm just not going to sign up. But the fact that I was already signed up and locked in, I was like, I need to make this shit happen. You know, and another thing for me, which I do, if I make a commitment like that, I tell people, because that holds me accountable as well. Like I told you, I'm going to compete. I told Will. I told Mike. I told Anthony. I told Alan and Jennifer. They're the older couple at the gym, the one that Will trained, that short little one that's like all ripped, and she comes with her husband sometimes, right?
Yeah, Jennifer's super cool.
Yeah, they came to the show, dude. They came to see me, bro. You know what I mean? And like, I told people like that because I knew they would hold me accountable too. And I know how big of a letdown, even though like they may not have cared that much, I felt like I was letting them down if I fucking pulled out. Felt like I was letting you down, because I was like, come to my show. Like, yeah, bro, I want to support you. I want to go. And then I'm just like, oh, I'm not doing it no more, guys. It's kind of like, oh, okay. You know, and I don't want to do that. If I tell you guys, hey, I'm going to fucking do this, then it's going to happen.
That's interesting. I've like had like different ways of thinking about the whole telling people about your goal thing. I've seen some like psychology research kind of indicating that, like, you know, people that extroverts that talk about their goals very frequently end up doing a better job of reaching those goals because they communicate them, and like they maybe it's because of something like that, where they feel like they have like a something to hold them accountable because I've already said this to multiple people, so I got to do it, kind of thing. And then my coach has a little bit of a strange way of thinking about that, where he doesn't like to talk about his the numbers he wants to hit. He doesn't like to talk about those things ahead of time, because for him, he feels like by talking about the goals or talking about the numbers he wants to hit, he gets like this moment of satisfaction, like as if he already hit them by talking about them without actually doing it, kind of thing.
Right.
And yeah, that's like something I've been kind of battling with a little bit the past, I want to say almost a year now, where I've been kind of thinking about this, like should I be communicating to everybody my goals? Should I be, like, to what degree should you communicate your goals? But given what you said right there, yeah, I think that it does seem as though there's something valuable to.
Well, and again, it's an individualized thing,
right?
So like your coach, that's something that works for him very well, right? And I mean, there's probably a certain satisfaction that he gets when he finally does hit those numbers,
right?
You know, like internally, right? For me, it's just another way to put accountability on myself, if that makes sense. Because I know, to be honest, like, I can tell people I'm going to do the show, but it's not really going to change too much in their brain whether I do it or not, right? They'd be like, oh, that sucks, well, Joe didn't do the show. But for me, what it also does, it also makes me feel like people are going to see me as a shit talker if I keep saying I'm going to do something. Like the boy who cried wolf. That dude always says he's going to do a show. You know? He's been saying he's going to do a show for fucking 10 years, and he always pulls out. You know? I don't want that image. Yeah, that's like a reputation. So if I go around and I tell people, hey, I'm going to do this show, or hey, I'm going to do this, or hey, I'm going to go do whatever it may be, bro, like, at least I know, like, if I follow through with that, then I'm a man of my word, right? And it's self-satisfactory for me, because I know I held up my end of the bargain, even though there's, like, not really a bargain there, if that makes sense, right? It's just another way to hold myself accountable, right? And I think, like, you're right, it can be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing, I think. You know, if you talk about them too much, I think maybe if you don't end up doing it, maybe it kind of affects you mentally a little bit harder, because you were like, man, I said I was going to do this and I told everybody, and, you know, maybe I shouldn't tell people because when I don't end up doing it, you know, like, I can see where it's a pro and a con type thing, right?
There's probably some balance involved there, where you don't want to be that guy that's like saying they're going to do this, that, and the other, and then never end up doing it. And then,
but I just feel like that's an individualized thing, and I would definitely just do what works for you. You know, in that context of a bodybuilding show, those are the things I need, right?
Right.
Like, I need that to be able to get myself to the end of it, bro. Like, I don't need help training. I don't really need help dieting. I don't really need too much help doing the, I guess, fun stuff. You know, it's the actual, like, bullshit part about it that comes up when you're not in the gym, when you're not training, when you're not doing the posing, you know, because those are all the fun things. Those really are, you know, when you're doing bodybuilding, even with you, I'm sure you know, bro, when you're doing your powerlifting blocks, the fun part is going to the gym and training.
Yeah, most of the time,
You know, it really is. That's the stress relief. That's what you look forward to. That's what you get excited about. If you have a fucking hard day ahead and you're a little nervous, but you're also excited, you know, like, those are the highlights of your day. Whereas the other 22 hours or 21 hours that you're out of the gym is the hard part.
Definitely.
You know?
That was me this last training cycle. There's like certain things I slacked on that I have to dial in on this next time. And it's like funny because I failed some PRs. I told you about that. And then, like, I was thinking, like, you know, I should probably change like this and that on my training cycle, like, you know, like change the programming. And then and I kind of started to think about it a little more, and I was like, I don't know if there's actually much need to change the programming itself. I think there were some things outside of the gym that I could do better. And those are the hard things. Like,
but see, and that's even me, bro. Like, for me, like how you're saying, like, there's things like for example, even with my show, even though I was proud of what I bought, I know I can bring something better. And I know there are things that I did during that prep that could have cost that. Like I know that, right? And I think that's just an ever improving thing that all of us lifters and bodybuilders have. Like we're ever improving, right?
Right, yeah,
So
never
it
finished.
doesn't matter how perfect something goes. Like, oh, I could have done this a little bit differently. I could have done that a little bit differently, right? Like those type of things. Because I know for a fact there's a few things that I could have done differently this prep that would have resulted in a better package than I brought. Again, I'm not unsatisfied with the package I brought. I just know that there are things that I could have done, right? And I think that's the way that you should view it. Like maybe you failed some pre-Rs, but it's not the program.
Right.
It's just some things that you need to dial in outside of the gym that'll contribute to you being able to do those things, right?
And for me, it was like sleep, nutrition, and cardio, honestly.
Bro, honestly, sleep is probably the number one thing.
Dude, it's so tough. Like people, like it's funny because like I'm sure you experience this. Like let's say you're somebody that doesn't go to the gym at all. Then going to the gym, that's probably the tough aspect. That's the thing you got to overcome first. But for people that go to the gym already and they're not seeing the results that they want to see and things like that, I feel like sometimes they get like, they'll think to themselves like, oh, I need to go harder. I need to do I need to like come to the gym with this mindset of being like more of a savage. And honestly, that helps. But like the part of being a savage is going to sleep at 10 p.m., dude. Like I
Part
can't
of being
even.
a savage is eating your meals.
Right, exactly. Eating
going to
6
bed
meals a
at
day
the
is
right
so
time.
hard, man. Like
It is. I struggle.
I struggle with that.
I do 4. I usually do 4.
I struggle to get in 3 sometimes. Like 2 is where I'm happy.
But it's hard though, especially if you're in a gaining phase, bro.
Right, exactly.
Like if you're trying to gain weight and you have to eat more food, that is daunting. Whether you're a bodybuilder or a power lifter, when you're trying to do that, it is hard, bro. I don't think people talk about that kind of thing enough either.
Dude, right.
It's the outside things with bodybuilding and powerlifting that contribute to your look on the stage and your performance and your numbers, right? Like we all talk about it. All the pros are like, oh, you need to lock in. You need to lock in. You need to lock in. It's true. You need to lock in. Like going to bed at a specific time, having a sleep routine. Like that's something I'm trying to start doing right now. Even though I went to bed late last night, I still took my melatonin. I still did my magnesium bath, and I still got about 7 hours of sleep, even though I went to bed at 3, right? But generally, I've been trying to take my melatonin around 9:30, get in my bathtub, and be out by 10:30.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been trying to do that because sleep, I believe, above nutrition, sleep is the number one most important thing that's going to dictate how things go.
I think I'm with you there.
If you rest well, you're going to train well when you wake up. You're going to eat better because you have more energy, which means you're going to expedite more energy. If you're tired and you're dragging ass, you're probably not going to be as hungry. Body's tired. It doesn't want to expedite energy. It's not running like, it's, and that has to do with not sleeping. So then you're not recovering, right? So like, that's one thing I can say this prep, I need to dial that in better. I need to get on a more consistent sleep schedule, And it's weird because like, I'm sure you're like this. You could be tired at 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the night, and then you lay down in the bed, you start scrolling your phone, or you start watching some Netflix, and all of a sudden it's 1 a.m.
Oh, dude, yeah. Well, and it's like sometimes at night, it's like there's things you want to get done. Sometimes there's a show you want to watch because you haven't gotten to do that all day. And that's why it's like the going to sleep early, I think is a tough thing compared to what people expect.
That is a literal sacrifice, bro.
Right.
Because you are sacrificing that time of watching your shows and doing this, because most of us adults do things when we go to bed. That's when we unwind, relax, watch TV, bro, especially when you're like me who has kids and shit, right? Like once they're finally all down and asleep, then you're like, oh, I got some time to myself and my wife. We can watch TV for a while. But then that turns into a fucking 3-hour TV show. You're like, holy fuck. Like, I mean, even like last night, dude, like, I finally had to be like, we need to go to bed. We need to go to bed. And my wife was like, oh, okay. And like, honestly, bro, it's not like we weren't like doing anything. Like we weren't like watching TV. I actually came home. We got back from the gym last night at like, I think it was like 11. right? Because we went pretty late. So we got home at 11, and I still did my melatonin and my Epsom bath. But by the time I got out of the bathtub, it was already like 12:05, you know? And then my wife was like, oh, I'm going to clean my toes and paint them real quick or whatever. So she was like doing her toes, and I was there like kind of like talking with her, and I went and sat in the bed, and I was like watching some TV, and then like I looked over, dude, and like I looked at the fucking phone, and I was like, it's 2:45. I was like, we need to go to bed, I told her. You know, like now, like right now. And she was like, all right, and we kind of like shut everything down and went to bed. But like, dude, it's just like time. There's not enough time, it seems like, in the day, I have to say. Especially when you have activities like us, because I think for us, the gym is a huge portion of our life, and the gym does take a lot of time. It does. You know,
It does.
2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours, you know, depending on what you got going. You know, like if you have cardio to do or you have a long training session, sometimes you get caught up talking with the homies, because that's where most of us choose to socialize, because that's where most of our friends are. You know, we're not partiers or anything like that. So sometimes we do, you know, sometimes we get caught up talking to our homies. I mean, you've done it.
Oh,
you know,
dude, yeah.
Be there at the gym for like 2.5, 3 hours and get 3 sets in. You know what I mean, bro? Like we have to pull ourselves, okay, we better go work out, you know? But that's just how it is. And I think as we get older, bro, it's hard to get to bed because we want to have that time. Right? And like, even if you wake up super early, it seems like time just goes, dude. You know, like I wake up at 6 in the morning sometimes with my wife, and I go on my walk, and I do my thing, I take the dogs, I come back, and I'm here, and I eat my first meal, and I do a few things, and then by the time I know it, it's like already noon. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, like where did 6 hours go? All I did was go on a walk and feed the dogs and do a few things around the house. Where did 6 hours go? You know, and then I'm looking at it, and I'm like, damn, bro, I'm like, I gotta go with the kids. You know, like they're gonna be home here at 3 o'clock, and then practice, and this, and that, and you know, and then like literally, bro, that's how come we go to the gym so late sometimes.
Right, dude.
Like,
I mean,
literally.
like even on that, it's like I was like, you know, I can say something like, I'm gonna add more cardio into this next training block. And I think a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, okay, like big whoop, it's adding more cardio, that's easy kind of thing. But at the same time, it's like, if you're getting 10,000 steps in a day, you might have to go on like maybe about 2 hours worth of walking throughout the day.
Put it this way: when I was doing my 10,000 steps in the morning, bro,
that's like an hour and a half walk.
Yeah, 2 hours. 2 hours, dude. Yeah. Like okay, so like literally, like you know when you like turned down, I don't know which way you came. Did you come the back way or did you come down Avenida Valencia?
Avenida Valencia.
And then you turn by that ditch, right? Coming in. So you know that ditch right there? I walk that ditch, and I walk it this way first, and I pass 3 ditches all the way down to like, fuck, dude, like you know where you pick me up and I told you to take that back road going to the gym?
Yeah.
I walk all the way past that, and then I turn around and I walk all the way, dude, past the other way, bro, where it's like what's that road over there? I can't remember what it is, bro. But it comes out on the back road over there by Bosky Farms, dude. It's like, it's a good 3.5 mile walk.
Right.
And it literally takes me, dude, I counted it, and it's like 14,000 steps, but it takes me like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Right. So if I leave the house at 9 a.m., I don't get back to my house until like 11:30 from just walking.
Dude, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's just the steps.
And that's just the steps. That's not even the cardio that I was doing.
The zone 2,
you know what I mean? Like the zone cardio. So I'm doing 14,000 steps in the morning. Then I have my meal. Then I do this. Then I'm like, oh shit, got to get the kids, do this, go to the gym, train for an hour and a half, and then I have an hour of cardio.
Right.
Like and there's like, just not enough time.
There's like different like approaches of life. You know what I mean? Obviously, like if you're a busy person that's like, yeah, like, you know, multiple businesses and stuff like that, like obviously something like that's probably a little bit insane to try to do. But if you're trying to compete in a bodybuilding show, or you're trying to compete in a powerlifting show, or whatever it is, like then all of a sudden things like that are important. Like you kind of have to dial certain things like that in.
And that's the thing, dude. Like, you know, and that's another thing I don't think I talk about prep is your family and the outside influences that don't understand it. They don't understand like how important and detrimental those things are for you to get to your meet or your show. They don't. It's like I would go to my grandparents' house and they'd be like, why can't you just walk tomorrow? Or how come you just don't cut your walk in half? And I'm like, you don't understand how imperative it is that I get this shit done. Because if I don't hit these steps and I don't hit this cardio, I'm not going to take off the amount of fat that I need to.
Right.
You know, and to you, again, like I said, they don't get that, bro. Or even the eating aspect. Like if you're on a diet, bro, and you go places,
imagine.
they're
Especially
like,
the bodybuilding diet.
yeah,
That's like
dude,
a
like
whole
every
different...
time I went to like a family's house, they're like, how come you can't eat? Why don't you just eat a little bit of this? Why don't you eat a little bit of that? I can't.
You know how much time we have gone already here? Let's see, about 124.
About an hour and a half.
Cool.
Want to get ready to wrap it up a little bit? Kind of get some final notes on it.
We can leave some for next time too.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I guess coming in on a wrap up, you know, the big points that I want to touch on, you know, and I'm appreciative that you let me, you know, come on camera again and speak about my adversities and whatnot, you know.
Yeah, I appreciate you for doing it.
Absolutely, man. You know, I love it, bro. But I think the biggest takeaways that I want people to take away from this is that, number one, you know, if you have any bodybuilder friends, you know, that are doing this, or powerlifting friends that are heavily involved in the sport, try to be a little bit more understanding with them. You know, I think outside people need to understand that we are people too, even though we seem like we're machines sometimes. You know, like I think a lot of people view us like that. Like they're like, you know, I'm pretty sure you have some people who are like, oh, my buddy, he's fucking like in the gym locked in. Like we are people. You know, we have emotions. We feel. We sometimes, you know, just because we go to the gym and we're positive all the time doesn't mean that we don't have those closed door moments, you know. And if you have a buddy who is in prep or who is training for a meet, just be supportive. I think that is the biggest thing, as any outsider or any friend or significant other or family member that doesn't quite understand it. Just be supportive with them, and that'll be more than enough for them. You know, that support goes a long way. And number two, I want to say, you know, anybody is capable of doing hard things if they put their mind to it. You know, just because us powerlifters and bodybuilders choose to do those things and suffer and go through it, you know, doesn't mean that an average gym goer or an average person can't. You know, I think that anybody can do it. All it takes is a little bit of mental fortitude and a little bit of sacrifice.
And one thing I want to ask you before we wrap it up, like, let's say you went through all that adversity, you went through the prep, and then you didn't do the show. Like, you had no moments of doubts where you're like, should I even do this? Like, is it, if you would have not done it, like, what do you think it would have been like? Like, what is it? Like, you would think, or I guess a better way of asking, does it feel good that you actually did it? Like, I mean,
absolutely, dude. I think if I didn't do it and I actually pulled out, I think I would have been super devastated. I really do. I think if I did pull out and, like, let's say the show passed, I think I would have been ruined for a while, to be honest, mentally and emotionally. You know, especially through going through all of that and then not to do it, dude. Like, I couldn't, like, now when I think about it, like, I couldn't imagine that. You know, like, being there and saying those things, like, I'm like, how could I have even said those things? Because I could not have imagined through going all that shit and not getting up there. You know, so if anybody out there is going through something like that, just do it. Finish it off.
Dude, hell yeah. And what do you got coming up next then? So
plans for the next competitive season won't be until 2027. It's going to be the same show, the New Mexico State Open. I'm sure it's going to be November 21st or 22nd again. It's always in November. But the game plan from this point forward is to really lock in on the gaining phase, right? So I'm on a 4-week health phase right now where I'm just kind of eating at maintenance. The gear, which, I mean, that's another thing that we could probably talk about on a different podcast, you know, going to the pharmacology of things, you know, because that affects your mental aspect as well. But the gear itself is very low right now. So we're going through a health phase. We want to make sure that the blood work is good, that the organs are good, that everything is healthy, you know what I mean? And make sure that my body's in a point that I can push to put on weight and start ramping things up again, you know, and we're going to do that all the way for the 2026 season into 2027, and then we'll start prep probably around the same time as we did this year. And the goal this time around is place oriented. So we're going to win this next time and come back and bring a bigger, better package.
Nice. Okay. Do you have like a weight in mind you're thinking that you want to try to get to?
So we're hoping to, in the next year and 8 months, because I'll probably do it gaining for that long, we're hoping to break 200.
Dude.
You know? So I'm hoping like 200 at least, real, I guess, optimistically and pushing for it, 205 to 210.
Let's go, man.
And I want to finish around there so that way I can come back around what I weighed when I started prep this last time. So I'm looking to come in around like 175, 180. You know, good. So I was 158 this last show. So I'm looking to put on a good 15 pounds to 20 pounds of tissue.
Dude, okay.
You know, and then we'll see if that's possible, you know. We're just gonna push it and make it happen, man. And then whatever happens, happens. You know, I got a hell of a support system. You know, I got you guys at my gym, best gym in the world, Storms Fitness. You know,
best gym.
So I mean, as long as I got those things, bro, I don't see why we can't make that happen. You know, and hey, you know, I told you last time too. Let's see if we can throw in a meat or two. You know, during this gaining phase. You know, maybe I can get a little bit strong.
Okay, yeah, that would be pretty cool.
That sounds pretty fun too. You know, kind of want to get back into that squat, bench, and dead. You know, it's been a while since we've moved some weights.
Nice. All right, dude. Well, thank you so much for doing this with us, Joseph. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Absolutely.